There's something about Boruto's recent actions that hasn't nearly gotten enough attention. Everybody immediately focuses on the Flying Raijin marker. That makes sense. It's a pretty important failsafe. It's a moment that all the shippers added to their checkbox for why they support or oppose whatever ship that it is that they root for. However, Boruto handing Sarada one of his special wasn't just a callback to Minato. It was practical. It gave Sarada a way to call him no matter where she ended up. It was a symbolic gesture of the future Shadow Hokage, telling the future Hokage, I'll always be in your shadow even when you realize that I'm not there. But here's the thing, if the Flying Raijin marker was the entire plan, then why did Boruto look so confident? It's because Boruto is counting on Sarada in a way that she isn't even aware of. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, takes a look at why Boruto's ace in the hole for the Hidari and Code battle is Sarada, and how it's a mega callback to one of the most underrated themes in Naruto's manga. Also, over on my Anime Explained channel, my new video essay on Yoru the War Devil, which is called The Reflection of War, that is up on the channel. I strongly recommend that one if you're a fan of Chainsaw Man or you're just curious about the series, because hands down Yoru is one of the most complex characters in Chainsaw Man's manga. Close your eyes and imagine for a moment. Just think about what Boruto actually told Sarada. He already knows Code's objective. Code isn't trying to kill Sarada. He's trying to kidnap her. He knows that he can't beat Boruto in a one-on-one fight. The moment that he tries to do so, Boruto makes him beg for mercy, and it's not a pretty sight at all when all that happens. Code suddenly goes from being big brain planned to having all of his big brain spilled all over the floor, like he ran into Dean Winchester with the mark of Cain on his arm and a loaded pistol, which if you get that reference, I love you. I just watched that episode. Code's idea of trying to drag her, he believes Boruto will surrender himself to Jura if Sarada's life is on the line. It's not a bad one. It's kind of classic shonen writing to a degree. That's the entire hostage scenario, and it's leaning into the whole damsel in distress thing. The only issue is that Ikimoto is planning to flip it on his head by basically having Sarada scream out, somebody get help, and then she cuts on a Mangekyo Sharingan and says, but not for me, and then Boruto teleports into her shadow with his sword drawn over Rasengan in hand. Can you imagine that scene animated? Holy. I think how Ikimoto has set Boruto up makes a lot of sense when you step back and look at what it is we have here. Boruto didn't react like someone delivering bad news when he told Sarada about the future. He did tell her don't lose hope no matter what. He was briefly shocked when Kashin Koji told him what was coming, but this Boruto right now is more measured than before. He acted like someone checking off another box on a checklist. Koji told him about what was happening, and Boruto went and took matters into his own hands. He let Code escape. He knew this was the road they were headed down most likely, and he's come up with this counter plan. That's the advantage Kashin Koji's 10 directions gives him. Koji doesn't simply predict possibilities. He watches timelines branch apart. He knows what decisions create which outcomes. Boruto has had some time to think things over, and giving someone like Boruto that level of intel and prep time, given he's a mix of Minato's genius, Naruto's unpredictability, and Sasuke's measured approach to efficiency, you're asking for a nightmare. The only issue for Boruto is, does his plan account for Jura or not? Personally, I think Jura is going to be out shopping for a cat when Boruto pulls up in that dimension. He's not going to be sitting in that hideout waiting for visitors, and he likely won't be reading his book there. Ikimoto introduced that cat side mission for a reason. He's saving Jura for later, and rightfully so. But here's also the thing, Jura doesn't have to be there. Hidari is the only one that matters. Remember who Hidari is? He's literally born from Sasuke's chakra. His instincts revolve around Sarada. His obsession to devour Sarada is driving him. Among other things, again, we've done the video on whether or not Hidari is a double agent. Look that up if you want more context. But his entire existence points towards eventually trying to consume Sarada on the surface level. And Boruto has his promise to keep to Sasuke when it comes to Sarada. A promise that Code heard Sasuke make Boruto give right before Sasuke was struck down. Which is why I don't think Code's plan was a bad one. Based on what Kashin Koji was alluding to, it probably worked in a future timeline. Boruto probably gave himself up for Sarada. So if Code delivers Sarada into the Ten Tails dimension, who do you think honestly is going to be there to greet her? It's probably not going to be someone offering complimentary snacks and asking, how was the traffic getting here? Did you run into any strange claw marks along the way? It's going to be Hidari, and we're about to see a lot of important contacts with Hidari's character based on how he interacts with Sarada. Now, again, I think that there's a betrayal coming with Hidari and Jura, but that remains to be seen. And that's where Boruto suddenly has a massive problem. Code isn't the issue anymore. Boruto can handle Code. Sarada can handle Code. Together, poor Code might start updating his villain resume, and he ends up losing that 2 versus 1 fight faster than Cyborg 17 struck down future Gohan in the manga, revealed he wasn't even using 50% of his power, and basically killed the guy on screen. Everything saw in the anime was anime only. The real threat is going to be the Shinju. In particular, it's going to be the Shinju made from Sasuke's chakra. He last saw her with the Sharingan, but not with the Mangekyo Sharingan. And as fans, we've never seen her use that second power, which I think Boruto is banking on right now. That second power, that's his trump card. Ever since Sarada unlocked Ohirume, fans have been trying to figure out exactly what her abilities are. Gravity, flight, that manipulation of the size of the spears, the detonation. There's a lot of different things that jutsu can do. Those are all powers that fans have associated with Ohirume, and the database entry for the jutsu confirms this is all one power. Just different applications of it, but it's all one power, which we needed because for a time, people thought that she was using both eyes for different applications of the power, pointing to Kamui, but even with Kamui, there was a distinction from the swirl pattern of the eyes when the jutsu was being used. With Sarada, only one eye was ever shown bleeding and strained in combat. If she would have been using both eyes, it would have been like the couple of times we saw Mangekyo Sharingan Sasuke grabbing both of his eyes when he overused them or closing both of them. Yet Sarada's second eye hasn't shown any indication that it's been activated in terms of any unique jutsu, which suggests something incredibly interesting. Everything we witnessed so far, the gravity, the flight, the exploding spears, that gravity manipulation, every one of those powers belong only to one Mangekyo Sharingan eye, meaning readers have potentially seen only half of Sarada's true arsenal. Half. Ikimoto is potentially sitting on a nuke when it comes to Sarada's power when you take that into account. That's absurd when you actually think about it. It's like watching somebody play an RPG for 80 hours before realizing they've never opened the second skill tree and has a bunch of experience points that they haven't had to use to unlock that second skill tree or beef up what is already there. When you view it from that perspective, it makes no wonder that the boss fight keeps getting delayed. However, Boruto might be the one to take advantage of that. There's a few things in the narrative that points towards this being the case potentially. It's there if Ikimoto wishes to pull the trigger on it, or he can kick it further down the road if he wants to. Kashin Koji stated that Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan powers will be needed in the battles ahead, and we know the story is not afraid of showing us that conversations we saw in the manga weren't the full conversation and just used flashbacks to fill in the rest before continuing with that big reveal. There's a good chance that Kashin Koji described both of Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan powers to Boruto at some point, especially when you consider that Boruto likely would have asked about her powers when he had that conversation. Why? Because Boruto heard it from Sasuke as well. And Boruto was shown looking very closely at Sarada when she was about to use Ohirume. Sasuke took one look at Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan and knew right away that she had a monster set of jutsu, and not just because she had the Mangekyo Sharingan. Every Mangekyo Sharingan power to a degree is overpowered, but Sarada's eyes, they were a very, very special case. And we knew that from the moment that the design was shown. Only a small number of Uchiha, according to the manga, have the potential to even awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan at all. Even fewer Uchiha awaken a Mangekyo Sharingan that has a Chokotomo Mangekyo Sharingan pattern. Those who do, their Mangekyo Sharingan stronger from the visual prowess to the powers itself. Sarada had a Chokotomo Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke saw everything that he needed to see. It's like how people that know cars can see two cars that are matched together. If you know the specs and you know that both cars are stock, you know which car should win in a race, outside of the driver being unable to get the most out of the car, because that does happen. Sasuke had faith that his daughter would be able to wield that power without any issues, and it's in character for Sasuke when you take into account what Masashi Kishimoto wrote for the character during the epilogue chapters of Naruto that were placed inside the epilogue manga volume of Naruto Gaiden, the Seventh Hokage, and the Scarlet Spring, which for Boruto anime fans, that is the Shin Uchiha arc. Sasuke's journey during that part was showing his trust in both his wife and his daughter. He knew his wife would be able to take care of himself. He said, hey, my wife is not a weak woman. And when Sarada stepped up in the final chapters, he had that shit-eating grin on his face when he watched her. The same way that Sasuke and Sakura told Sarada they would never have to worry about their bonds because Sarada was the glue that holds them together, which I'm paraphrasing, by the way, that's not literally it. It's the same when it comes to her ability to use the Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke knows it, fans should know it. You don't need to train the Mangekyo Sharingan once you consciously awaken the power because you just know how to use the jutsu. Sasuke was confident that his daughter would grow to a level capable of maximizing her power because she's his daughter. It might seem like a cookie cutter form of writing, but it's consistent with what the Naruto franchise has always done. Minato was certain that Naruto could handle Kurama's power, and when pressed about it, his answer was because he's my son. We accepted that moment, the blind faith a parent put in their child. This shouldn't be any different given it's the same shared concept. When you look at Boruto post time skip, due to everything that he's been through, Boruto low-key has become Batman, and Batman had teleportation jutsu instead of childhood trauma. Even when he acts and calls his own play, he usually has a backup plan set in motion. Like how we saw when he fought against Jura, he was just crossing his ball sack and hoping that Kawaku would show up to save him. It hasn't always worked, but it wouldn't be called a gamble if everything worked out right all the time. Right now, Boruto's gambles are working out well enough that if we were in a casino, I'd let the guy bet money for me. Now, if he loses that money, I'm slapping that childhood trauma, the rogue ninja trauma, the alien trauma out of this man's face with a soggy Thunderburger. The point still stands though. Boruto doesn't have critical information unaccounted for, especially when it comes to the survival of people he cares for. Boruto doesn't leave stones unchecked. If this was just his life, he would gamble with it. Boruto would roll that dice, no hesitation, but not when it's others. That's why I strongly believe Boruto is banking on Sarada's other Mangekyo Sharingan power to come up clutch. It would, in hindsight, raise Sasuke's character up more. Why, you may ask? Because Sasuke, in that conversation that he had with Boruto after Omnipotence, it would make it hit harder. Suddenly, Sasuke isn't speaking as a father. He's speaking as somebody who's already seen the weapon that Sarada carries, even though she's never used it and he doesn't know what it is. Yet, so far, Sasuke's 1 for 1. Ohirume is indeed overpowered. Now, we have to wait for that second power that she hasn't blessed us with yet. Narratively, it creates a great opportunity when you look at how to structure the confrontation itself. You have the flashback option after Sarada is captured and a few flashbacks from her conversation with Boruto at the tree being finished, Boruto's conversation with Sasuke being finished, or Kashin Koji explaining to Boruto about Sarada's powers if we assume that last one happened. Meanwhile, you also have Code and a false sense of security. Boruto arrives and he's thinking everything's going according to plan now that Boruto's here. He's gonna surrender himself. I'm gonna get a chakra fruit. Hidari probably steps out for the confrontation as well, given that Sarada is his target to consume. Readers begin to wonder, how are they gonna make it out of here? Boruto charges head first, and then Sarada cuts on a Mangekyo and uses that second Mangekyo Sharingan power to support Boruto. At that point, if you haven't used the flashback bullet yet, you can. As a writer, you have options for how you want to play with this if you want to. You could even pull a page out of Naruto's manga's book and stack flashbacks on top of flashbacks from different periods of time since they're all relevant. The manga immediately cuts into that flashback. Say you get Kashin Koji explaining why this future would succeed. Sasuke explaining why Boruto has to trust in Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan power. Boom, you get 2 reveals, 2 conversations. Suddenly everything clicks into place. It's classic Naruto in a way. Classic delayed context, classic delayed payoff. My favorite part of this discussion isn't even the mystery surrounding Sarada's second eye. For all I care, it could just be another variation of Amaterasu, since Ohirume is literally one of the names for Amaterasu, so who cares if it has the black flames? I care for a different reason. I care because of what it says for Sasuke. Think about Sasuke's journey. He spent his childhood believing power was something he alone had to carry, and it was due to what happened to him during the Uchiha massacre. He isolated himself, rejected everyone, believed that trusting in others only led to pain. Then when he did begin to change, Orochimaru came, and then Sasuke went off to the bad side for a while. Yet, at the end of Sasuke's life as we know it, which is right now, he's stuck in a tree. This same Sasuke, right before he was sealed away, put his faith into something else, not into himself, but into Boruto, into Sarada. That is character growth. That is real character growth. That is why I will forever die on the hill. What happened to Sasuke in Chapter 5's flashback, that was good writing. It really pays off the character if you understand the character. And it also fits something that Naruto has done quietly for decades as a manga. The older generation eventually steps aside, not because they're weak, because eventually they understand that the future belongs to someone else. It sucks because we're seeing characters that we love have to do this in their 30s, opposed to being in their 50s, but this isn't a one-off example. Minato literally had to trust in the next generation, and Minato is 24 years old. Given what happened to Naruto and Sasuke, it just kind of makes sense that them being in their early 30s at the time and Sasuke being in his mid 40s at the times, it kind of makes sense that they had to entrust the next generation. They didn't have a choice. They just got lucky that their kids had a high enough ceiling to pay off the gamble that they were making. The strongest shinobi don't become legends because they never lose. They become legends because they know when to believe someone else can finish the fight. Naruto as a franchise has been very big on teamwork, especially in part 1, which is what Ikimoto draws a lot of inspiration from according to his own words. That's what Boruto may be counting on here. Not that he'll be the one to defeat Hidari, not that Flying Raijin will solve everything, not that Kashin Koji predicted every miracle, but instead, Boruto knows that Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan could change everything. That second ability, that second opportunity, that second decision to use another power besides Ohirume could change the entire battlefield. And I do think that it would be fitting because it would prove that Sasuke was right, that Boruto and Sarada were the keys to everything. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Click here on the left, check out this Naruto Explained video, or click here on the right to check out that Chainsaw Man video essay that I was talking to you guys about earlier.